Hello. So recently I had a volume pedal break on my pedal board, and it got me to thinking before I replaced it about tone suck that supposedly happens with volume pedals. So I thought we could A/B compare a few options that are available on the market and popular to see which one causes the most degradation of your tone, especially when used with your pedal board. So what we're going to start with is the Dunlop Mini. It is the Volume X Mini. Then I also have the Dunlop Volume X8. That's a newer one out on the market right now. I can imagine they'll probably sound similar, but might as well try it out. Probably one of the most popular volume pedals that's out there currently is the Ernie Ball VP Jr. This has a 250K pot in it, and it's very popular. And then we have an active option, which is the Hotone. This one is the Wong press that has the active, and it also has the built-in wah pedal. So let's try them first with a clean amplifier. We're going to be playing first just the clean amp. So here I have a Vintera Telecaster, very basic stock Telecaster. And then we have the Princeton Reverb. This one has the 12-inch speaker in it. It's the Sweetwater Special. You can see I'm also running it through the Iron Man 2 from Tone King. It is a attenuator, so I don't go deaf today. So let's start with just the amp straight up from the guitar. All right, that is the bridge position. Here's the neck. Let's try that with some pedals and see what happens. All right, up first, let's try out the Dunlop Volume X Mini pedal. And it's just going straight from the guitar into the input, out the output, into the amp, which I'll plug in now. The amp settings are exactly the same as they were for the dry test. So now you can tell that the volume pedal is working. Alright, so here it goes, off, slowly rolling it on, and that's its full up. To me it sounds a little bit darker. Right here is the neck position. So here it is with some open chords. All right, let's try a different pedal. Right, up next is the big brother of that. This is the Volume X8. This is the middle size. They have an even bigger one. Same setup, input, output. This one does have an output for expression pedal and tuner. We're just obviously using the regular volume function. This is a chord off, so you can hear the swell in. Right, that's full out. Position. X8. Up next, we have arguably the most popular volume pedal. It's a pretty big footprint. It's also passive, just like the other two. It's the Ernie Ball VP Jr. Same thing, it has an input and an output. This one also has the tuner out. This one is the 250K variety. That's the volume pot that's in it, essentially. There is a 25K different one as well. You'll know that, though, because this one says just volume pedal. The 25K one actually says 25K right here. Found that out recently. So here's what this one sounds like just rolling up. In my opinion, this one has the smoothest track, but because of the string inside, it does break all the time. So that's the pedal I had that broke, which started this whole thing. All right, full out, bridge position. To the neck position. Up next, I have the active option. So obviously, you probably understand this. Passive means that it is essentially just a straight potentiometer or some sort of other operational system that you're going direct from your guitar straight into your pedal board or your amps or whatever. You're at the mercy of whatever happens with the resistance in that pod. That's why the passive ones tend to tone suck a little bit, which you may have heard already in the examples. So the solution for that is to make an active one. Now with active, it essentially has a buffer built in, and that buffer brings back all the brilliance and brightness and vibrance of your tone, supposedly, that you lose with just a standard passive pickup. Now, what that also means is you're going to need to power it. In this case, I've just got a standard wall plug going into the 9-volt side. Now you can see there's an indicator that tells you when it has power. This one is set up for wah as well. We won't be using the wah feature. On the sides, it has lots of other options. You have volume mode, wah mode, volume and wah mode, and then you can pick between a classic and a warm tone, as well as setting the parameters of how that wah works. Like I said, right now we're just going to be using the volume portion of it. It also has an option for expression and tuner, so it's much more versatile. Also much more expensive. This one runs almost $200. So here's what it sounds like. I hope you didn't come to this channel to hear amazing guitar playing. I'm just trying to give you functional guitar playing so you can kind of get an idea of what they sound like. So real quick, let's go back to the original example of the guitar straight into the amp, and then we'll play them in order for you again so you can A-B compare them straight across the board, no other pedals, just the guitar and a volume pedal in chain. So now the next thing we're going to do is hook it up to my pedal board rig that I use at church. I won't use all the effects, but this is basically just to get an idea of what each pedal sounds like in the chain. Just for the sake of argument here, the signal chain is going the polytune, the compressor, then the volume pedal, then the rest of the rig. So that is the order this will be running for these playing examples. Okay, now for the Dunlop X8. This is a bridge position. To the neck position. right, VP Jr. bridge position. Bridge position. Now that we've listened to all four of those alone with just the guitar, the pedal, and the amp, we've listened to a few examples with a pedal board in play. Now I'm going to isolate out the two that I prefer the most. I think the Dunlop ones are awesome, but the little one tends to suck a lot of tone, and the Volume 8 is better, but still kind of has a real muddy low end. It really actually accentuates the low and cuts a lot of the high. So For me, it's between the VP Jr. and the Hotone. So let's set up kind of a solo situation, just a little basic blues kind of lick with a few of the drives and things going on. Let's take a listen now to just the VP Jr. and the Hotone isolated out. Alright, so we did some A-B comparisons between 4 different types of volume pedals, 3 of which were passive and 1 that was active. These were all the passive ones. You have the Dunlop Volume X Mini, the Volume X8, the OG, which is the Ernie Ball VP Jr, and the Hotone Wong signature press. So just some my perspective on this. I actually kind of went in that order. I feel like the Mini really kind of muddied the tone. It accentuated the low end to my ear, and it took away a lot of the brilliance. It's a really great option if you want a really small pedal board rig, but just know you're going to need to add some sort of EQ pedal or some sort of buffering, because it's going to suck out a lot of your brilliance and brightness, in my opinion. I think that a step up is actually the X8. To me, the X8 sounded a little bit more full, a little bit more bright. It did still muffle and accentuate some of the low end a little bit, but it was a lot better, I thought. I still think the OG is pretty good. This is what I've been running on my board for many years. Honestly, hadn't really thought much about the tone suck until I started to do some listening around and looking at other examples. What I notice about it compared to the Hotone is that this actually accentuates the bright, interestingly enough. I don't think it had quite as much low end as the 2 Dunlop versions, but it definitely was much more brilliant and alive sounding to me. But for my money, now mind you, this one is not as expensive as this one. YouTube doesn't like it when we say prices, but this one is nearly $200. So it's going to set you back a little bit, but I think if you want the cleanest, purest, best representation of the amp, to me, it's probably going to be this one, the active. But you're going to take up some space on your pedal board, and you're going to take another system out of your daisy chain or whatever to power it, because it does require that active power. So I think you can't go wrong really with the VP Jr. or the Hotone. I really like this, but this to me was a little bit more full sounding. It had a more universal across the board sound, whereas I feel like the VP Jr. cut some lows and added in a little bit of highs, versus the Hotone I think was the best reproduction and almost kind of brought the sound alive a little bit more. Not to mention, for the added money, you do get the wah feature, which we didn't experiment with, but this little button here on the end, when you full roll it down, actually engages a wah, and this one has the Wong signature wah, but obviously you can figure out how a wah pedal works. So you do get a lot more pedal for your money for this one. So again, small pedal board, this will work, but it's going to suck out some tone. medium-sized pedal board, this could work for a budget option, but you're going to sacrifice a little bit of your tone. If you want to go with that OG kind of sound, I think the VP Jr. is a great option. But for me, I think the Hotone wins it because it's the most universally brilliant across the whole spectrum. But what do I know?